Game Hunter here, and welcome to my review. Today, we're looking at another Cheetahmen game released by Action Enterprise, called Cheetahmen 2 on Nintendo. Now, before I go and give you my thoughts on this game, let me give you a small history lesson on this Cheetahmen game.
After the failure of Action 52, receiving nothing but negative feedbacks and low sales, which puts Action Enterprise in a major financial crisis. But they still believe they can still make Cheetahmen the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this time around, they're going just to focus on making a direct sequel to Cheetahmen. But sadly, the game never got an official release. It wasn't until a couple of years later, some guy found a stash of them in a warehouse and sold them in a secondary market for a couple of dollars.
Now this game is extremely rare. It is believed that only 1,500 copies exist and they go really high on eBay. But luckily, I got my copy from a collector from NintendoAge.com who needed money to buy a new car. And I'm hoping he's enjoying that new car, because even though I got this game a slightly better deal than I would on eBay, I still did not get this game for cheap.
Now, let's take a look at the game cartridge and compare it to Action 52. You probably noticed that both of the game carts are exactly the same. This is because Action Enterprise couldn't afford new carts. So, what they end up doing is recycling the ones they couldn't sell and use them for Cheetahmen 2. But there are some ways to identifying one from the other. One way to identify one of them is by looking for a misspelled Cheetahmen 2 sticker on the back of the cartridge. Now, before you go jumping out of your chair and go out in the wild and go looking for this game, I must let you know that not all Cheetahmen 2 games have this sticker. They will either not put it on there, or someone at some point tailed that sticker off. So, another thing you need to look for is the pins. You see, Action 52 has all the pins, while Cheetahmen 2 are missing some in the middle. So, if you're ever out in the wild or on eBay and they mistake it for Action 52 and they're selling it for a good price, then you better snatch it up. The story is about Dr. Morbius, who just created a new subhuman called Ape Man. Half man, half ape. And this is supposedly his strongest subhuman he ever created. And he's going to send him, along with his other minions, to destroy his failed experiment, the Cheetahmen. And that's it. And like Action Gamer on Cheetahmen, we never hear from Dr. Morbius or any other for the plot in this game.
Now, let me go right up and say this. There's not a whole lot of difference from Cheetahmen and Cheetahmen 2. A lot of things they did in the first game, they kept in the second game. For example, all three Cheetahmen have the same abilities. The controls are the same, which I consider a good thing because I'm already used to them. And they kept that same music from the first game, which doesn't really bother me because for some reason, I really enjoy that one and only song that this game has to offer. So basically, the only difference between these two games are the levels. Okay, maybe most of them, but I'll get to that later. And the enemies. So pretty much, that will be all I'll be focusing on.
You start out playing as Apollo, the Cheetahmen with the crossbow. And for what I understand, some people who play this game couldn't really get far because they complained they were unable to aim well due to the fact that most of your enemies are on the ground and they're too small to kill. Which, by the way, you can't duck in this game, so it really does makes it impossible for you to kill them. But I don't really consider this a bad thing. The first 2 levels, you really need to master the controls and your platforming skills. Because throughout these levels, you're going to be jumping over enemies and jumping on these square floating platforms. There's only a couple of times where you really need to kill an enemy, like this tornado. Yes, I'm being serious. One of your enemies in this game is a tornado. Yeah, they weren't that creative with their enemies in this game either. You know what? I can understand if that tornado was the Tasmanian devil or some kind of creature that spins. But no, you're shooting at a tornado. Well, anyway, I enjoy the first 2 levels, even though I don't think it was their intentions. But I really thought this was a good way to make this game a little challenging. But sadly, the rest of the 4 levels in this game are not like this. The other 2 Cheetahmen characters you play as are Hercules and Ares, and basically, there's almost no difference between the 2, besides their size and how they look. Both of these characters' levels are really easy. Basically, all you have to do is keep tapping right on the D-pad until an enemy shows up and kill them. You see, the main difference between these 2 and Apollo is that Hercules and Ares, they both can kill small enemies without any problems, which makes the game way too easy. But did you know there's actually an easier way to beat these 4 levels in less amount of time? Yeah, there's this jumping glitch that you can do, and all you have to do is keep jumping through the air throughout most of the levels, and you barely get hurt. Now that really ruins the challenge of this game. Of course, let's not forget the most infamous glitch that the game is very well known for. At the very end of level 4, when you reach the second boss, 8-Man, which I'm a bit disappointed because he's really not all that threatening like Dr. Mobus made him out to be. Well, anyway, either you kill him or let him go across the screen and he disappears forever. You're now stuck in limbo, and there's no way for you to progress to the last 2 levels. You're stuck there, and there's nothing you can do about it. The only way you can access to the last 2 levels of the game is by activating this rare glitch, which allows you to stop playing the game on the 5th level instead of the 1st level. But sadly, I never got this glitch to work. I even tried that trick I heard online, where you put the game in the NES 2, or what some people like to call it, the top loader, and you constantly turn the system on and off, and eventually the game should start you at level 5. But sadly, I couldn't get this to work either.
The only way I was able to play these last 2 levels is by getting my hands on the Lost Levels reproduction card. And to tell you the truth, there's nothing special about these last 2 levels. There's just recycled levels from the first Cheetahmen game. But like I said earlier, just use that jumping glitch and you'll beat this game in no time. So, after everything I just said, do I recommend this game? Man, no. As much as I enjoy trying to figure out how to beat the first and second level, the rest of the game is way too easy. It has a lot of major flaws, like these glitches, level designs, and plus, all you're really doing in these last 4 levels is moving to the right and kill the enemy once it appears. You hardly need to jump at all, unless you want to use that jumping glitch. Also, in case you're wondering, I know, I didn't really mention about the bosses, except for 8-Man, but I really didn't want to give anything away on how to defeat them. So, I guess I'll let you guys figure that one on your own, just in case you want to give this game a chance. for some reason.
And for those who do, the original broken down copy hardly appears on eBay. But when they do, they can go well over $1,000. And that's when it's complete in box. I rarely see just the cartridge on eBay. But I heard stories about people getting really lucky when the seller mistakes it for an Action 52. Oh, and by the way, if you see a seller claiming his copy of the game to be factory sealed, don't buy it. Unless you want to, but this game was never factory sealed. The guy who came across these games in the warehouse actually sealed them himself. Well, anyway, if you don't feel like paying a fortune for the broken down copy, you can get a reproduction cartridge of the Lost Levels at CheetamenGames.com for $200 or $500. That comes with other stuff depending on how much you're willing to pay for.
Now before I go and end this, I'm letting you guys know, I don't regret on how much I spent on these two games. I love the history behind Cheetahmen and the company of Action Enterprise. So I'm very happy to have these two games in my collection. Well, that's it for today. This is Video Game Hunter, and until next time, goodbye.